Be me. 24, communications grad, feminist, loud on social media. I tweet things like, men never suffer in silence. They just refuse help. I genuinely believe it, though. I feel men are at an all-time high in power and dominance as always, and it's women that are still severely oppressed. Used to joke that men with podcasts should be nutted. Spend hours in the group chat. All girls, all well-educated, all convinced we're fixing the world. We send each other TikToks about male tears mugs. Laugh at guys venting online. Say cope harder. Pin posts about mental health for likes, but never read them. Write essays about patriarchy. Never once asked dad how his day went. Once made a viral thread about men crying for attention. Never realized my own dad never cried in front of me. But is that really a problem? Maybe some men just aren't emotional. Isn't that their own choice? Besides, we have to be strong too, right? Why is it our job to check in on them? We call guys emotionally unavailable while ghosting anyone who opens up every Father's Day. Just repost a meme. No actual call. I think I'm changing the world. Really just changing profile pics. Dad helped me move apartments. Carried every box. Made fun of how slow he moved. Called him boomer eyes. He just smiled. Said, getting old is a privilege. I never really listened. Always had headphones in. Funny, for someone who never listened to men, I sure talked a lot. He always left the porch light on when I was out late. Would send random texts like, let me know you're home safe. Kept fixing the mailbox every time it broke. Never told us. Refilled the gas in Mom's car. She never noticed. Said, call if you ever need anything, but I never really did. Hated the idea of relying on a man. Dad is in his early 50s. Owns a small auto repair shop. Works sun up to sundown. Never yells, never hits, just helps. Fixes leaky faucets without being asked. Picks up Mom's meds, even when he's limping. Says, you good, sweetheart, when I walk through the door. Boring, nice, probably has no secrets. We call him old-fashioned. I say, he's just repressed like all boomer men. He laughs and says, maybe. He starts getting quieter over the years, misses family dinners, doesn't crack dumb dad jokes anymore. Once caught him just staring at the backyard at 11 p.m. Mom says he's just tired. Let him be. I say he needs therapy. Nobody pushes. He used to whistle while fixing cars. Now, whenever I visit the shop to collect stuff, he's really quiet for some reason. His old record player gathers dust in the corner. He offers to help with my taxes. I roll my eyes, sometimes finds old photos, just stares at them. Brings up his best friend from high school. Says he's gone now. I scroll Twitter while he talks. Barely hear him. Once left the house without his wallet. Had to come back. Mom jokes. You losing your mind? We all laugh. He fakes a smile. I see him donate to some charity for men's health. Tease him, say, wow, finally caring about something. He shrugs, just says, figured someone should. He cooks dinner, forgets the salt, apologizes 10 times. We tell him to stop being dramatic. He goes quiet. Never once asked him if he was okay. Was too busy searching for my own struggles. Business starts slowing down. More customers go to big chains. Nobody wants local shops. Spends hours on Yelp, reading bad reviews he can't reply to. Says times are changing. Got to adapt. I see him Googling how to do digital marketing. Gets frustrated. Has to lay off his last employee. Does all the work himself. Comes home with grease on his hands, shoulders sagging. Mom says, maybe you should sell the shop. He just nods. Says, thinking about it. Finds the for sale sign hidden in the garage, but he never puts it up. Keeps showing up every morning, even if no customers come. One day, Mark, his old co-worker, drops by the shop. I find him sitting in the break room, coffee untouched. Mark says, business any better? Dad just shrugs. Says same old. Not much work for old dogs. Mark says, remember when this place was full of noise? Dad just nods, stares at his hands. Mark says, retirement's not as fun as they make it sound. Huh. Dad smirks. Only thing waiting for me is more bills. They sit in silence for a bit. Mark pats him on the back, says, call me if you ever need anything. Dad just says, yeah, you too, buddy. Never once talk about feelings, but you can feel it. Financial's tight. He pawns his old camera to make rent. I say he should have saved better. Mom says he's always been bad with money. We roll our eyes, laugh, move on. Collectors start calling. Hear his voice go tense on the phone. Notice groceries getting cheaper, fridge emptier. He skips lunch, says he's just not hungry. Porn shop receipt in his jacket. Acts like it's nothing. Mom asks why he never planned ahead. Says I did. Just didn't work out. I post about girl bosses buying homes. Ignore the eviction notice. He finds a new laptop for college, but sells his own tools. Gives me gas money, even when his car barely starts. Starts eating leftovers so we don't waste food. I say he's just being stubborn. Realize now, he was just trying to keep us afloat. At graduation, he stand in the back smiling. Seems like he's embarrassed to be around my friends and their parents. They come from pretty wealthy backgrounds, but I'm not sure why he'd even care about that. I'm too busy taking selfies with friends. Never noticed the bags under his eyes. We all just expect him to be there. Hear them talking in the kitchen when I get home late. Mom says, I'm worried about money. Dad just sigh. Says, I'm trying, Sandra. I really am. Mom snaps. Try harder, Bill. You used to be so optimistic. He just says, yeah, used to be. And even then, I thought he was guilt-tripping her. Why do men always bring up death when they're under pressure? Feels manipulative sometimes. Like, what am I supposed to say to that? Don't women go through stuff too? Silence. Then chair slides back. He says, if something happens to me, you'll be okay, right? Mom tells him to stop talking like that. Says, men always think about themselves first. He doesn't reply, just starts washing the dishes in the dark. He cancels family game night. Blames it on headache. I post a meme about men being emotionally constipated. Gets 300 likes. He's sitting in the next room, in total silence. Didn't even hear the TV on. He starts forgetting things. Leaves keys in the fridge. Doesn't eat all day. Mom says he's just getting old. I say he's being dramatic. Never once asked why. Can't help but wonder, though. Like, if men want help, why don't they just ask? Why do they always wait until it's a crisis? We've been shouting about mental health for years. Why didn't he listen? Family dinner. Dad tries to talk about his day. Says, got a weird customer today. Paid in all coins. Mom interrupts. Did you pick up the laundry? Dad nods, quietly eats. I scroll my phone under the table. He tries again. Used to love working on cars with Grandpa, you know. Mom just says, that was before everything got hard. He goes silent, picks at his food, finally says, guess I'm not that interesting anymore. Nobody replies. Just chewing, fork scraping. Mom and I spent a lot of time together, though. Girly bonding, I guess. Wine nights with Mom. We watch reels together about man-children. Laugh at guys who can't cook. Ignore Dad making dinner. I always post stories about independent women while we make Dad clean the kitchen after he comes back from work. It's just because we want to make sure equality is in the household and that he doesn't think of women as less. Doing housework should be a man's job. One night, he tries to join in. We brush him off. Mom rolls her eyes, says he's sensitive lately. I tell her he's just acting up for attention. He walks the dog longer, every evening. Barely says goodnight. At dinner, he asks how my job hunt's going. I say, don't worry, I'll figure it out. Never really asked how his day was. Can't remember the last time I hugged him. Spotify Wrapped is just sad indie tracks now. Funny, didn't realize the house got this quiet. Then one night, he doesn't come home. We wait hours. No calls, no messages. Then cops show up at 2 a.m. They found him in his truck, parked behind a shop, passed out. Bottle of painkillers on the seat, still breathing barely. Hospital for 3 days. Doc says it was a high dose. They saved him just in time. He looks embarrassed. Says, I'm sorry for worrying you. I can't even cry. I'm too stunned. Mom hugs him, but it's awkward like neither of us know what to say. They release him. He goes back home, quieter than ever, starts sorting through boxes, throwing out old photo albums, burns some letters in the fireplace. I ask why. He says, memories aren't always good. I still don't ask more. Hospital smells like bleach. Everything too bright. Sit there holding a styrofoam cup. Don't drink. Nurse asks if we want to see a counselor. I say, for who? Mom makes a list of bills on her phone. Never looks up. Social worker drops off a pamphlet. We throw it away. Dad's phone never rings. Not one friend visits. I scroll Instagram in the waiting room. Post nothing. Some relatives send thoughts and prayers. None show up. See Dad staring at the ceiling, eyes hollow. Wish I could say something, but can't think of a single thing that would help. Just silence. Sit next to his hospital bed. Try to say something. Anything. He looks at me, eyes tired. Says, you're doing okay, right? That's what matters. I nod. Don't know what else to do. He tries to smile, but it doesn't reach his eyes. Says, don't worry about me. I'm tough. Remember? Voice cracks on tough. I just say, okay, Dad. We sit there both looking at the TV. Nobody turns it on. A week later, we think he's just tired. Mom says he probably stayed up watching his documentaries again. I go upstairs to check. His door's slightly open. He's lying there still, eyes closed, arms crossed. He looks like he's sleeping. I say, Dad, no answer. Say it again. Louder. No movement. Walk over. Shake a shoulder, cold. Panic floods. Start yelling for Mom. She runs in, gasps, drops a phone. We call 911. They try reviving. Nothing. EMT just shakes his head. Earlier that week, he gave me his favorite mug. Said, for your new job, if you get one. Cleared out his closet. Left my old soccer jersey on my bed. Fixed Mom's sink without being asked. Left the toolbox out. Emailed his friend Mark a thank you. Never told us. Last thing he did was write a sticky note. Don't forget to eat. Dog sits by his door whining. House feels emptier, but I don't know why. Every sign was there. None of us looked. Uncle Rick comes by a week after. Sits with me on the porch. Long silence, says, your dad called me a few months back. He pauses, looks down, says, told me he felt like he was running out of road. I asked what he said. He shrugs. Told him to man up. That's what we always say. He's quiet, voice shaking. Says, wish I'd told him it was okay to be tired. Never seen Uncle Rick cry before. Now he won't stop. We stand there frozen. No sirens now. Just the sound of the clock in the hallway. Mom finally speaks, says, what about the mortgage? I blink. What? She says, the bills, the car, the credit card. What happens now? EMT still in the room. Dad's body's still warm. And she's doing math. My chest caves in. Realize he was only loved for what he could provide. Once that was gone, so was the grace. EMT asks about medical history. I can't remember a thing. Police officer stands in the hall, writes on his pad, looks bored. My hands shake so bad I drop my phone. Dog won't leave his side. Keeps pawing at him. Look at the family photos. Realize he's missing in half of them. Always the one behind the camera. Neighbors bring casseroles. Nobody actually comes in. Mom calls her sister. Says, I'll figure something out. I sit on the steps, stare at the spot where his boots used to be. Remember being a kid thinking he'd never leave. Now it's just silence and bills. Clock keeps ticking. Nobody asks how I'm feeling. They say we'll need to do an autopsy. I wanted to scream, but I just stood there numb. He looks peaceful, but he's gone. Mom doesn't say anything. Just sits there for hours. I finally read his journal. Pages about how invisible he felt. Wrote that he didn't want to be a burden. Wrote that men don't get to ask for help. They just hold it. Results come back. Turned out he overdosed. Quiet, calculated, not an accident. Doctor calls it a deliberate mixture. Not one bottle, multiple. Says it would have taken time to plan. He didn't forget. He chose. Mom goes quiet, then says so. He didn't even want to say goodbye. I don't respond because that wasn't the point. He said goodbye 1,000 times. We just didn't hear it. Funeral is small, mostly old coworkers. His best friend, Mark, says he was the gentlest guy I knew. Says he once fixed my brakes at 2 a.m. in the rain. Another guy says he gave me rent money when I was short. We never knew. He just did things for people and never mentioned it. Some old guys stay after everyone leaves the funeral. One of them, Joe, pulls me aside, says, your dad used to give me rides home when my wife left me. Says, never once judged, just listened. Another guy, Tom, says, he paid my electric bill last winter. Told me not to tell anyone. They start telling stories one after another. None of them are about sports or politics. All just quiet acts of kindness. Never talked about their own pain. Just shared cigarettes in the cold. One says, we all thought he was the strongest. Maybe that's why none of us asked. I sit with his friends after the wake. Ask why none of them spoke up. Mark says, because when we do, no one listens. Adds, we're just supposed to take it. I think about all the times I joked about men being weak. About how I dismissed him, how Mom did too. How he only noticed after he vanished. How many others are walking around like him. Quiet, kind, dying slowly with no one asking. I delete all my tweets, replace it with one. My father died from silence, from strength, from no one caring until it was too late. Men don't have it easy. They just die quietly. Some followers unfollow. Some call me out for hating on men before, but switching up when it was someone I loved. I don't reply. I just sit in his old truck, smell the faint engine grease, look at his empty seat, and realize men don't need sympathy. They just need space to exist without being ridiculed. Bank calls about a late payment. No, sorry for your loss. Church send a flyer for a women's grief group. Nothing for men. Neighbor says, men are strong. He'll be fine. After the first attempt, every support group is for someone else, never for guys like him. Community posts a photo of him with, thanks for your service. That's it. I was wrong and he paid for it with his life. Spend hours scrolling through our old texts, all from him. Never reply to half. Find an old voicemail. He says, just wanted to hear your voice. Break down. Replay it 10 times. Try talking to my friends about it. They change the subject. Group chat turns dead silent. Nobody knows what to say. Post about grief. Get 2 likes. One troll calling him weak. See a DM from a guy. My dad died the same way. Nobody cared. Never felt so alone in a crowd. Message the group chat. Say, I miss my dad. Honestly, men need more help. One girl says, sorry for your loss, but men are still privileged. Another says, at least you still have your mom. Nobody says his name. Start to realize they never understood any of it. Leave the chat on mute. Can't bring myself to read it anymore. Maybe they're right, though. Maybe I'm only upset because it was my dad. If it were a stranger, would I even care? Am I being hypocritical now? Is this even feminism anymore? We're just grief talking. Go to his grave, bring his favorite coffee, apologize, realize activism never saved anyone, just made me loud. Walk past the shop, see his old hat hanging on the wall. Think about all the men are trash jokes. Wish I could take them back. Me being a feminist never really contributed to our family or his quality of life. Wonder who we're actually even helping then. He just needed someone to ask how he was holding up. Sit in his chair, try to remember the last thing I said to him. Realize it was just a complaint about work. Never thanked him for anything. Not once. Wish I could call him now, just to ask if he's okay. Find a saved voicemail I never listened to. His voice calm says, just wanted to check in. See if you're doing all right. Love you. Sit on the floor, listening on repeat. Never replied. Never will. Realize all the things I wish I'd said. But I did everything right, didn't I? I was educated, vocal aware. I followed all the right pages, supported the right causes. How'd I miss the one person who needed me most? Too late.